On show 447, Mercedes EQC looks highly efficient, Tesla's battery recycling scheme, and Sion to build their solar EV in Sweden. Those stories and many more coming up on the show today. This is called EV News Daily if you're new to the podcast, if you've just discovered us. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Doesn't matter where in the world you're listening. Welcome to the show. My name is Martyn and I'm here to bring you all of today's big EV news. There's so much going on at the moment. I go through everything I can find and filter it down to the best stories that you'd need to know about. And thank you to a brand new Patreon producer. Welcome to the family. Thank you, Torsten. Torsten Wild signed up in the last 24 hours on my Patreon page. Thank you to myev.com as well for helping make this show. Heading towards almost a year they've been supporting this podcast, and they've been building the world's first marketplace for buying and selling purely electric vehicles. Check them out, myev.com. We'll start with the story that I told you about at the beginning of the show, Mercedes-Benz EQC. There's a special edition, the 1886 edition, that adds exclusivity to the electric SUV. A limited special edition version of the EQC has been announced, which is kind of funny because you can't even get the regular version at the moment, but it's been announced at the New York Auto Show as a tribute to the first motor car, and looking forward to a new era for Daimler, looking back at 1886 and what a year it's going to be in 2020 when they start to ship these in big numbers. As for the name, it's a callback to the 1886 Benz Patent-Motorwagen, the vehicle widely recognised as the very first production car. Nice touch, like what they've done with the name, like referencing the past as they look towards the future and a new era as being an EV maker. Mechanically speaking, everything about the EQC Edition 1886 is what you'd find on this standard model. It's got a pair of electric motors driving all four wheels with a combined output of 402 horsepower. That's bang on 300 kilowatts. Draws power from an 80 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. Mercedes at the moment giving guidance, their estimation, the EQC's range, realistic range, depending on how you drive it and the weather and all those things that we know about EVs, between 277 and 293 miles, with the capability of fast charging at 110 kilowatts when you can find a station that charges that fast, says Chris Smith for Motor1.com. The standard EQC is going to arrive in June here in the European markets, with the US sales having to wait until 2020. The Edition 1886 also slated to go on sale in the US next year if you fancy getting yourself a special edition of the Mercedes EQC. Pricing for either model hasn't been announced yet. I'm really keen on the Mercedes EQC because Mercedes have done this slightly differently. They haven't thrown everything in the kitchen sink at making an EV and making it ridiculously expensive. It doesn't come with things that they could have put on, things like adaptive air suspension, and loaded it with all the bells and whistles. What we know about it, it's reasonably spec'd. It's perhaps the car that they needed to build to get it at a certain price point. Even the battery, 80 kilowatt hours, it's not exactly class leading. There's been Teslas around with 100 kilowatt hour batteries that are very efficient for a long time now. But here's where I'm really impressed with the Mercedes EQC, and not this special edition, which frankly is nothing more than a bit of a press release because it's the New York Auto Show and they had to do something, and it's like, let's do a special edition, guys. Which is a couple of logos, maybe some stitching on a seat or something. It's ridiculous. The car's not even out there. So ignoring the whole special edition thing, what it reminds us is that it's got an 80 kilowatt hour battery pack, but their guidance, their realistic guidance, is between 275 and 300 miles, right, if I round those off. And when you think about it, let me compare that to the Audi e-tron, a car that people will rightly compare the EQC to. 95 kilowatt hour battery, significantly larger, came back with an EPA range, 204 miles. Now, Audi were talking 300 miles. That was their announcement, when they were talking the car up for years. Yeah, we're going to make a 300-mile range EV. e-tron comes back, just over 200. What's the EQC going to do on the official measurement? Well, we don't know yet, but from even things like early test drives with journalists and things like that, they've taken it for a drive. They've told you how much battery they use. They kind of finish the drive with 15-20% of the battery left, and you do the sums and you go, actually, this is, I think, a bit of a win for Mercedes-Benz engineers to make an efficient EV, which the e-tron is definitely not. A Jaguar I-Pace, not the most efficient EV in the world. However, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I could be totally wrong on this, but I'm really hopeful about the Mercedes EQC. And the thing is, right, the reason I do get excited about the first EV that manufacturers come with, because if it goes well, right? If they make the EQC and it's a success and it's a win, it just buoys the whole company. They're not going to stop making EVs. Everyone's going to be making EVs, and the roadmap for Mercedes-Benz is set in stone and it's not changing. But it'll give them some confidence. Actually, we made a great EV, better than the competition. Or maybe it won't be. I don't know, but I'm optimistic about this car. But I mentioned the I-Pace. Let's talk about that next. The Jaguar I-Pace was the critical darling of the World Car of the Year awards announced today at the New York Auto Show. It picked up the World Car of the Year award and honours for Green Car and Design award as well, says Zach for InsideEVs.com. The other two finalists for the World Car of the Year award announced last month at the Geneva Motor Show. Finalists also the Audi e-tron and the Volvo S60 and the V60. The I-Pace shared its World Green Car Award with the Audi, and a hydrogen fuel cell Hyundai Nexo was nominated for the honour. Jaguar's Director of Design Ian Callum was in New York to receive the awards, underscoring the significance of the Jaguar I-Pace winning the World Car of the Year award. He said that going green was going to happen to the whole industry, and that cars like the Jaguar I-Pace are just the start of the journey, just the tip of the iceberg. Congratulations to everybody at Jaguar, everybody at Magna, who actually makes the thing. Congratulations to everyone involved in that from the very start, from the very top of the company, with Ian Callum for designing such a damn beautiful car that the I-Pace is. Okay, so it may not go quite as far on so many electrons, but it's a very, very luxurious car. I parked next to one. I've still never driven one. I've never driven an I-Pace. I parked next to one at the weekend, actually. And, actually, there's a story that I haven't told you. I parked next to one at a charger. They weren't plugged in. Oh, come on, Jaguar I-Pace owner. If you can afford a car like that, you know the rules of the road. Don't park in a charging bay and then not bother to plug it in. It was a busy car park, and they were just using it as a car parking space. Luckily, there were four EV chargers, and you know, there was one for me. I hadn't told that story on the podcast, actually. I did make a mental note at the time. I must mention that, actually, because that's really naughty. You see it occasionally. EV drivers just using the space and not plugging in for a charge, which is naughty. Anyway, let's talk about Lotus, a very famous name. The world's first full-electric British hypercar has been announced. Lotus confirmed that it's working on what they describe as the world's first full-electric British hypercar, as it unveils a new teaser image for the EV, says Fred at Electric today. Well, the image is really, it's a couple of lines on the paper. It looks a bit like, there's one comment on Electric said today, like it's a sandstorm kind of blowing through. It's like there's some dots on the page. It's not even really a teaser. Very, very tenuous Photoshop, this one. There have been rumours about Lotus going electric with a $2.5 million, 1,000 horsepower hypercar ever since Geely took a majority stake in the British automaker. At the Shanghai International Auto Show, Lotus confirmed as well the all-electric hypercar called Type 130 is now in the advanced stages of development. There's an interesting take on this, which is I'm kind of coming round to. A company like Lotus, which of course was the donor car for the original Tesla Roadster, which then pretty much got torn apart so much it really wasn't a Lotus. By the end of it, Tesla changed so much to accommodate what they wanted to make with the original Tesla Roadster. However, when Tesla did that with the original Roadster, there was nothing stopping other car companies that had small, lightweight two-seaters 10 or 15 years ago having a go at making their own electric Roadster car. Lotus could have done this. They have incredible people working for them, and they knew the technology was out there because they were working with Tesla. And you think, if you'd have started so many years ago, where would you be now? If you'd had the foresight to go, you know what, let's not make this about, no big headlines, but let's get an R&D team working on this, and maybe it'll be a great car. Maybe we're just doing it for learning. Let's put some money behind it, and we'll see what we can make. And now, all these years later, they go to the Shanghai Auto Show, and Geely's making big investments. This isn't a dig at Geely. But then they make a big announcement with a pretty crappy teaser picture and go, making a hypercar, everyone. Woo, woo, look at us. And you're like, not that impressed. Like, well done. in 2004. Anyway, moving on. Maybe I'll have my cynical pants on today. Let's talk about a battery... Here we go. I promise I'll hold it together for this one. Let's talk about a pure electric Toyota. Now, Toyota love to promote their hybrid cars with the phrase, "We choose not to plug in." They run adverts all around the world now for their self-charging hybrids. And in this country, they've run TV adverts with EV chargers covered in cobwebs as a hybrid speeds past. The current advert is of someone stranded in the desert, an EV driver, stranded in the desert, just standing there, pumping electrons into their car, like charging their car, because no one stands actually around charging their EV, waiting as a hybrid speeds past. With their self-charging hybrid technology, we choose not to plug in, which everyone knows is crazy because the world is going to full electric cars. At some point, they're going to have to go, actually, we do choose to, we do choose to plug in. That moment could be said, it has already come and gone because they make a really great plug-in in the Prius. And it's so obvious to so many people that this is short-termism. That, okay, they're still going to be a massive car maker. The mainstream don't care about all the stuff that you and I get worried about. They don't care. But in the short-term money grab to sell their really old hybrid technology now, and a few more soft hybrids just to fill the coffers of this year's budget sheet, on a legacy issue, why are you dissing them? They're going out of their way to really diss EVs when they're going to be making them one day. Actually, I should correct myself. They're not going to be making them one day because they're making them now. This is awkward. Toyota just announced the full electric CHR. They jumped into the battery-powered pool, revealing a collection of pure electrics at Auto Shanghai. The most notable is the compact crossover, the CHR Full EV. It's the first completely electrified vehicle from the Japanese brand to come to China, and the other main EV is also the CHR, but it wears a badge calling it the Izoa EV. According to Autocar, it's going to be built by the Chinese state-owned FAW. Toyota says the twins, the two cars, really will be offered to consumers next year, 2020 onwards, as full EV. Says InsideEVs.com, the appearance of the all-electric CHR sparks the inevitable questions. Will it come to other markets apart from China? There's no definitive answer on that, and also Toyota reminds us that it plans to introduce more battery electric vehicles by 2025. They know they're coming, so why are they spending hundreds of millions, it must be, in marketing money dissing EVs and really trying to put something into the mainstream mind that plugging in is bad, when in the future they themselves are going to have to tell people, no, plugging in's really good. We know we told you for years that the plug socket is terrible on a car. We've got this great soft hybrid technology that'll do a little bit of regen and not much else. You've got to put petrol in it to actually move. But it just seems to my tiny brain, my tiny podcasting brain, it just seems stupid. And there are some very clever people working for Toyota who probably think the same, but have to toe the company line because, everyone's got a mortgage to pay. And so they'll go along with it for now. Toyota will be fine when they come out at the end of this. They're such a massive company that they'll make full EVs and sell a bucket load of them. But it's a weird transition phase for them to be in, to be dissing full EVs and then having to announce that there's a load of them coming. We live in a worldwide market, a worldwide economy. We don't live somewhere that they sort of behaving like 30 years ago where they could run an ad campaign in Europe and USA and then do something different in China and think that we all wouldn't know about it. Maybe they haven't heard of the internet. Or Twitter. Let's move on. Genesis is a company that revealed a new concept at Hudson Yards, the New York Auto Show. It's called the Mint. The Mint concept, and they announced it, the all-electric luxury car for city driving with new vehicle typology, they say, featuring organic design, says this press release, and an innovative interior user experience. Love a press release. The versatility of the Mint concept extends to the design and engineering of its high-density battery electric powertrain. The concept car can do 200 miles on a full charge with 350 kilowatt fast charging. It's a concept car. They can say what they want. Let's move on to Tesla wanting to recycle batteries in the latest environmental impact statement that Tesla made. They announced they're going to open their own battery recycling facility. Tesla's been recycling batteries made at the Gigafactory in Sparks, Nevada, using third-party recyclers up until now. But as the earliest Model S is now, 7 years old? And the company is receiving battery packs back, or they're replacing old ones under warranty on those early cars. They're setting up their own battery recycling facility, says Eric for Green Car Reports. The new processing centre at the Gigafactory in Nevada is going to process both old batteries used in customers' Teslas and those from its own research and development they've been doing. The company says that lithium, cobalt, aluminium, copper and steel are going to all be recovered from batteries in a closed-loop system that optimises the materials for new battery production. But what about charging batteries nice and lovely quickly? There's a company called Fastned here in Europe, and they make super quick chargers. They've expanded their network to here in the UK, opening its first fast charging station here in the UK, but also the first in the UK ready for 350 kilowatts of charging power. It's in somewhere called Sunderland, and it's on one of the busiest routes there, known for its Nissan manufacturing plant, of course, one of the three places the Leaf in the world is made is in Sunderland. It produces the Leafs for the European markets, says InsideEVs.com. According to a Fastned statement, charging at the station in Sunderland is going to be free. Oh, we love free stuff. The free charging will end sometime this year, when a payment system gets activated. From that moment on, the introductory pricing will be charged. Charging and paying is going to be possible with an EV charge card, either contactless on your debit, credit, bank card, Apple Pay, Android Pay, and later in the year, it's going to be possible to charge with the your account with the Fastned app, making automatic charging possible in the UK for the very first time. They're calling it Auto Charge. And yes, it's a 350 kilowatt charger. No, it won't charge at 350 kilowatts. I think it's, 175? It's 350 ready, but for now it'll do 175. But look, what's the point of arguing about this? There's no cars that can take it. Let's talk about VW of America. And bear with me on this one. They're showing a pickup truck, a concept, at the US New York International Auto Show, the Tarok pickup truck. There's no plans to produce the vehicle for the US market, but they are showing it off in New York this week at the auto show. And they're saying they're doing it to gauge market reaction for a versatile and compact entry-level pickup. Well, the US is the largest global market for pickups, and so this is, if you look at the face value, all about can they sell more diesel pickups? But I don't think it is. I think this is about selling electric pickup trucks because they're gauging the reaction to what if we made one of these cars. They're not saying this car, but what if VW made pickups for the US market? What do you think? They're gauging reaction because they must be looking at the Tesla truck, Rivian and others as well and seeing what's a very lucrative market, possibly being closed off to them. Of course, VW do have a tie-up with Ford, and Ford make some mega bucks from their truck business, so we'll see how that shakes out. But I think it's more than simply gauging reaction. I think it's there certainly testing the water for an EV truck. Right, two more stories very quickly. Sono Motors, S-O-N-O, Sono Motors is going to build the Sion EV at Saab's former factory in Sweden. The first series production solar electric vehicle. They're calling it an SEV because that's what we needed, more things to remember. It's an SEV, solar electric vehicle, and it's been developed by the German automaker Sono Motors, and it's going to be made in Sweden. Officially announced today, the first generation of the Sion is going to be produced by the NEV company in Sweden. The plant located there was home to the production lines of the famous manufacturer Saab. In total, 260,000 vehicles are going to roll off the production line over an 8-year period. Production will begin in the second half of next year, and after a ramp-up period, they say 43,000 of these are going to be made every single year. Production is carried out using 100% renewable energy. It's got a bi-directional charging function, so you can use the Sion to receive and supply electricity, power electrical devices, maybe your home as well, and feed energy to other vehicles in case they, run out of electricity. That's all right, I'll come and rescue you. I'll come and give you some juice in my Sion. It's also covered in solar panels, not just the roof, but all over the body as well. And it can add up to 34 kilometres. What's that? 20 miles-ish range per day on top of the battery range. of 255k. For its market launch, it's going to cost €25,000. And finally, Volkswagen has set itself a new challenge with the IDR. That's the car that did Pikes Peak, and their challenge is going to be on the Nürburgring Nordschleife rather than Pikes Peak this time. A race track rather than a hill climb. Full throttle sections instead of hairpins. And because of this, the fully electric IDR, which I saw at Goodwood, the Festival of Speed, last year, smaller than I thought it was going to be. Like most when you see a race car, it's always smaller than you think it's going to be. Very impressive. They're going to be using Formula One technology in terms of aerodynamics, says Electric Vehicle News. They've got a new floor, new spoiler at the front of the vehicle. The IDR is going to have a new rear wing as well, much lower than the variant used on Pikes Peak. They don't need downforce for this. They need less resistance. The new multi-wing rear of the IDR is going to produce some high downforce, though, in some of the corners, but not for the long straights on the Nordschleife. And how are they doing that? Using Formula One technology called the DRS, the drag reduction system, in the pinnacle of motorsport in Formula One. DRS is used to facilitate easier overtaking. They're using it on the IDR to shed that downforce to get that lap record. Well, that's your news today. Thank you to myev.com as always for setting our question of the week. Keep your comments coming in on email and YouTube. Would you let your car be used when you're not driving it as part of a self-driving fleet or a ride-hailing service? Would you? Is it too precious? Or if it earned you money, would you go for it? You can email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com. Time for the envy bit. There are 214 patrons of this show who keep me going. Thank you very much to all of you. You do fund the streaming, the storage of this show. There's so many in the archive now. It's not cheap to both keep this show going and keep the archive all in there. 446 previous episodes are online, and I want to keep them online as long as I can afford to fund it with Patreon for free as a resource for people to discover and find, as a historical document, if anything else, the journey that we're all going on. You can get the new ones, though, online if you hit subscribe on your podcast app, maybe on YouTube, and get the new ones first and free and automatically. You know I'm a blatant attention seeker. If you can share this podcast with just one person and help me share this show, it would mean so much. It would mean the world. And maybe we can get a few more listeners learning about EVs and get them inspired. In the meantime, catch up on the socials by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, sometimes you have to choose to plug in.